This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Saturday Morning Mysteries, where we're your hosts. I'm Grace.
And I'm Alexis.
And we are here to do part 2 of the Scooby-Doo movie, the 2002 masterpiece.
Yes.
Scooby-Doo, which is partially animated, is full of crime, is a comedy, so mystery. It counts for us.
It's comedy.
Yes.
Fair.
And we
and it's where this podcast all began too. With
yes, exactly. So, with good old Scoobs. And so yes, for our 100th episode last week, we started off this movie and then realized that this has to be 2 parts because we simply could not have fit it into one reasonably timed episode, to no surprise to anyone probably. So today we are picking up where we left off. So if you haven't listened to last week, go listen to that and then come back where we will finish this film. But as a very quick recap for y'all, before we
tell
pick
us, where
back
were
up.
We?
Yeah, that's a great question. Where have we been? Where are we going? It's a whole week. I couldn't possibly remember. So we were with Mystery Inc., who had just broken up after a lot of infighting. Then they got a mysterious invitation, all individually, from a billionaire named Emil to come to his amusement park / spring break destination, Spooky Island, because there was some creepy shit going on. So he invited Mystery Inc. to come and solve this mystery for him. They all came. In solving this mystery thus far, we have learned that, 1, there is a creepy cult that is trying to host some type of ritual, perhaps awakening old creatures. We have learned that our suspects thus far are Nagu, who is kind of the ritual leader. The not actually named Voodoo Man because he insulted Daphne's fashion. Most likely.
Yes.
And Emil himself, because he is
no other motive.
Billionaire, who owns the island and amusement park. And some of the creatures we have seen thus far wreaking havoc are these giant gargoyle-like cat.
Describe them, please.
Creatures. I should have looked up the type of cat that I used before, but obviously I did not do any research between now and last week. So, yes, they have been running around the island wreaking havoc. And most recently, we have seen that they breathe green smoke and make people pass out. And they are kidnapping people left and right, including their latest raid. That took Emil, Velma, and Fred away. So they are off to who knows where. We have had hints because Velma deciphered this Damon... what was it called?
Ritus,
aka this pyramid cult object that was covered in runes. That, yes, there is a ritual, a summoning ritual that will most likely be happening in the near future.
Yes.
So we are left with Daphne, Shaggy, Scooby, and Shaggy's hopes to be girlfriend who he met on this island, Mary Jane, on the run from these monsters, needing to save their friends and solve this mystery before who the fuck knows what happens to their friends and to this island and what the heck this ritual is. So with that, Alexis, take it away into the midst of chaos that we left off in.
Yeah, I mean, literally in the middle of chaos. We guys left you guys with a cliffhanger. We were just like, pause in the middle of this destruction of this whole resort island, and we'll come back next week. And all right. So imagine in your mind, chaos. It picks back up. People have been paused for 1 week.
Monsters.
Boom, they're allowed to move. Monsters everywhere.
People
it's
screaming.
Wild. It's crazy. Daphne and, as Grace said, Daphne, Shaggy, Scooby, and Mary Jane, they've all made it kind of away from the hotel where all the chaos is going down, and they've kind of gotten to this safe spot where they're hiding and the monsters can't find them. And Daphne's like, all right, look, we got to save Fred and Velma. We've got to solve this mystery. It's our turn to be the heroes, because she's still leaning into this whole, like, my body is a machine type thing, right? Yes. she's studied, she's practiced, she's ready for this moment. She's been training, getting stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, though, Mary Jane, she says that, okay, that's cool, we can save them, but let's do like the normal thing and save them and call like the authorities.
Which,
Not
like, the first time anyone involved with Scooby-Doo has ever, while the mystery is afoot, called the authorities, I think.
Yeah, right. She's
Ever.
new here. She's new to the gang.
She's
Like,
actually part of the
please.
gang.
Yeah, true, not at all. And Daphne, she agrees with us here. She's like, okay, like whatever, if you want to, go for it. Like
Cute.
we don't do that around here. How cute, but go for it. And so Mary Jane, she calls the Coast Guard to beg for help, saying that there are demons all over the island. They're kidnapping people, they're taking people, they're all in danger. This is a very dangerous situation on Spooky Island. Please help us immediately. And the Coast Guard, this officer, he answers the phone and he's like, okay, yeah, Spooky Island, you say? Cool. All right, we'll send some help. But after he hangs up the phone, he looks at the other like officer in this building with him and they just start like evilly laughing.
Yep.
Like, are they in on it? Are they just, I don't know,
Jerks?
having a bad day? Are they just jerks? Like, I can't quite tell what's going on here, but nonetheless, we know that they're not about to follow up on this call whatsoever, yes. Whether because they're in on it or because they're just, as Grace said, jerks. Mm-hmm. So in the morning, the entire island is somehow back to normal, right? The sky is blue. The water is nice. The beach is calm. People are just playing sand volleyball. And we see, not Velma, good God, Daphne, Shaggy, Scooby, and Mary Jane, the opposite of Velma and Fred, the others, the ones who have not been kidnapped. We see all of them just asleep on the beach. I guess they didn't want to go back into the hotel. They just kind of fell asleep while they were on the run looking for a safe spot to hide. And they're woken up by a gang of resort goers, these young adults who are playing volleyball, asking them like, hey, toss that ball back over to us. We're trying to play over here. And the gang is like so confused. They wake up, they're like, okay, well, the Coast Guard's not here, but everything is back to normal. These teens are over here just playing volleyball like nothing happened. The building, the hotel, no one is concerned. There's no holes in the windows, or the windows haven't been shattered in the resort. Everything looks back to normal. It does not look like chaos and monsters took over this resort yesterday. So at this point, they're like, well, we don't know what's going on, so let's split up and see if we can find clues to see if anyone around here has any information for us on why everyone's memory seems to be washed away.
Why is everyone so chill?
Yeah, why is everyone so chill? What's going on? You guys are too chill. Mary Jane, what did you give these people?
But you're not chill, them? Mary Jane. What is happening?
Yeah, Mary Jane is hilariously the only super anxious one.
Yeah.
Weed actually makes her like paranoid.
Yeah, I was gonna say she should not be smoking, probably. No. It's not good for anxiety.
No. So at this point, they're all split up, and we go with Daphne first. And we see her walking through like a pool party at the resort. And the singer of a band, none other than this island pulled all the stops here, okay? The live entertainment that they have at this pool party is none other than freaking Sugar Ray. Of all bands, and also just a testament to how much of like a 90s hangover movie this
the
is.
Times.
The Times, man. And none other than Mark
time
McGrath.
Capsule.
It really is. But the lead singer of Sugar Ray, Mark McGrath, he's all up there singing, rocking the stage as he always did back in the late 90s and early 2000s, frosted tips and all.
Oh, yeah.
And he's going around singing this groovy new metal song as they tended to do. Again, like we said, everyone on that plane going to Spooky Island looked like they should have been in like Smash Mouth or like Sugar Ray or something like that when going to these bands. And Daphne, she walks up to the stage, loving these groovy tunes that are coming out of Mark McGrath's soulful voice, coming from his musical skills, his godliness. And she walks up and stares at him in the eyes, just loving every song that they're playing. And he looks at her. And he lowers his sunglasses and he serenades her. Yeah, of course he does. Those super, super UV protective sunglasses. And he locks eyes with Daphne as he serenades with her. And she smiles, flusters a little bit even. And then his eyes flash green and he stares even deeper at her. And this frightens her and she backs up and realizes, oh no, green eyes. He must be one of these skinless cat, sphinx, monsters.
These frosted tips are fake. I know he doesn't have any hair.
Yeah. He's supposed to have no hair. He's furless.
It's a furless cat gargoyle. I know it.
I knew it all along. So she runs away. She gets the fuck out of there. But seeing that her eyes did not turn green in return, Mark McGrath, he doesn't like this. So he looks over at his like bass player or something, and then they kind of nod and they know we've got to get her. She's not one of us. We then see Shaggy and Scooby. They're also walking through the other side of this pool party. And they find Fred, who is now, for whatever reason, like a frat bro. He's like, yo, what's up, man? I'm not even going to quote it, honestly. That's all we're going to do because it's this is not a role for Freddie Prinze Jr., let me just say.
He's got
I guess he kind of nails it, though, in the sense that, like, you do feel cringy when you listen to it. Yeah. Sleeveless tank top, but it is still like Fred colors, right? Though, like he's still wearing blue and white. I'm pretty sure.
Yes,
maybe like a hint of orange in his shorts or something. But yeah, it's just not. It's not Fred. It's not Fred Jones, and it's also not Freddie Prinze Jr. He does not. Yeah. It's not working, but I guess it's working in the way that like you feel very cringy while he's saying it. So like, good job, Freddie Prinze Jr. You nailed it.
Yeah, you're like, this is not the Fred we know. What's happening?
Exactly, and Shaggy and Scooby, they feel this too. They're like, Fred, what the hell is up with you? What are you saying? Like, we can't even understand what you're trying to say right now. And just as they try to back away because they realize that something is wrong with him too, he then like jumps on the table in front of them, stopping them, and breathes green smoke at them and starts chasing them alongside other zombie partiers. Fred becomes like the ringleader of this mob of zombie teen or zombie young adults. Of course.
He loves an audience.
He's got to take the stage. Exactly. He jumped up on that table and he was like, come with me. Zombies, follow me.
I'm the leader.
And yes, I am your leader. And so Shaggy and Scooby now realize that Fred is indeed, he has been taken over by one of these demon monster zombie thingies. And so Daphne, we then see her, she's still running from Mark McGrath, or the band that she now suspects to be zombie or monsters, taken over by monsters. And she runs into the luchador, Zarkos, that's his name.
Right? Yeah, Zarkos. Every time I say it.
The word like, luchador why? Just makes me laugh. Yeah. Like in this context in particular, like typically luchador, sure, cool, whatever. Like that's awesome.
But why here?
But luchador in this movie on Spooky Island, what is happening? Why is he here? He's just the muscle. Yes. So anyway, Daphne runs into this character and he is able to actually snatch the pyramid from her after like a quick back and forth little like shuffling and fighting. And Shaggy and Scooby, meanwhile, as they're running away from this mob being chased by Fred and whatnot and his little cronies that he's gathered, they stumble upon a shack in the woods or kind of in the jungle of Spooky Island that has a bunch of ATVs in it. So they get on the ATVs and they are able to ride/run away from these zombies. And during their ride to safety, they actually run into Mary Jane, Shaggy's, hopefully will she be my girlfriend by the end of this movie. And Mary Jane, so she hops on and she's like, oh my God, thank you. You saved me. My friend, I think Beth or whatever her name was, she's just not acting like herself. I think something's wrong with her. So Shaggy's like, come on, like we're going to figure this out. And they all get on the ATVs and they ride off. And they're doing all these trick moves, going through all these back little like paths and trails through this jungle. You know, there's trees everywhere, branches hanging low. And at one point they're flying through by a branch and Shaggy's like, duck. But Mary Jane doesn't hear it quickly enough and it smacks her in the face. And from the other ATV, Scooby, he looks over at this exact moment when a branch hits her and he sees her face, like her eyes turn green and her face kind of shifts around and looks like it's actually a mask. And she's all trying to like put it back together before Shaggy turns around and looks at her. And Scooby immediately realizes, oh no, Ruh-roh. Ruh-roh. She is also one of these demon monsters. So, and again, Shaggy doesn't see this, only Scooby does. So they go on these ATVs, they ride to the ritual ceremony site where I think Vilma was watching that whole thing a couple nights before, like that whole performance, I guess we can call it. And Shaggy, he doesn't believe Scooby when Scooby gets off of the ATV and warns him, like, yo, back away from Mary Jane. Like, we don't trust her. We don't like her anymore. And Shaggy's like, what are you talking about, Scooby? It's Mary Jane. Like, she's been here the whole time with us. And they're fighting. And Scooby's like, well, you've been paying more attention to her than me anyway. Like, she's coming between us. They say all of this in maybe slightly fewer words. But right in the middle of this debate, a trap door opens right underneath Scooby-Doo as they're standing in the middle of this like ritual ceremony site, very concerning. And the trap door just takes Scooby-Doo underground somewhere below this site. And Shaggy sees this and he's like, holy fuck, like I gotta save him. And Mary Jane tries to stop him. She's like, no, it's dangerous. Like, you don't know what could happen. And she like briefly slips and uses her monster voice for a second. But Shaggy doesn't catch it. He's too busy thinking about Scooby. He's blinded by love for Scooby and for Mary Jane at this point. And he's like, you know what? I'm not listening to you, Mary Jane. Scooby's my best friend. I know we fight, but I got to go save him. So he dives down this trapdoor. Always. This is where we learn this. This is where we learn this phrase. At the tender age of 9 or 10, however old we were, watching this movie in 2002. Bros before hoes. You go, Shaggy. Way to go. And yes, so he dives right down that trapdoor and follows Scooby-Doo underground into the unknown.
Yep. And down this trapdoor, he tumbles into this like cave, like tunnels of caves, and isn't able to find Scooby. He's yelling for him, but can't find him as he wanders through all these tunnels, and eventually finds himself in this like enormous cavern, where he sees there's like a glowing pool kind of in the center of it. And very creepily, we hear like kind of like the undertones of like whispering and like screaming coming from this glowing pool. Which as he approaches it, he realizes it's like more of like a basin, and the basin is covered in the ruins that we've seen throughout this film so far. And Shaggy leans over to look into this basin and the water within it, and sees like what it reminded me of in Hercules, where like all of the souls are that like Hercules has to pull Meg from.
That's such a good comparison. Yeah.
Yes, it's basically that. It's like a spirit pool with like all of these like wispy spirit heads like swirling around it, and like they're all screaming for help. And among all the voices, Shaggy clocks Velma's voice screaming for help. So he reaches on in there and scoops out her spirit head that is like holding her up by like wisps of a spirit, and it's just her head floating there, all like gray and like see-through-y. And Velma explains what the fuck is going on. She has figured it out, even though last time we saw her, she was passed out.
Even somehow, as just a head swirling around in this basin, she's figured out this mystery.
Exactly. She's had enough time to go around and around on it and has solved it.
She's got no extra weight from her body. Everything is just, it's all her brain now.
Just brain now. Yeah. Her truest state. So she explains to Shaggy that we don't know who they is yet, but presumably the cult and the monster creatures stole what she calls their protoplasm, which essentially seems to be like their souls, but just the protoplasm is like the form that these little spirit heads have taken. But yeah, essentially it's like it's taken our soul. This is what our soul looks like. Hello, it's a floating head, and we call it a protoplasm. And that is what this pool is full of. It's all of the stolen souls / protoplasms. And she says, Shaggy, I still have kind of like my free will essentially in this state. Let me go, and I can go find my body and re-enter it, and basically get my soul back. I know my body is still around. And then Shaggy, get the fuck out of here. Yeah. So Shaggy lets her go, and we see Velma's protoplasm fly through the jungle until it finds her, where she is walking in line with a bunch of other partygoers, like one of the zombies we saw at the beginning. So like dead-eyed, marching, chanting.
Yeah. No life.
exactly no life anymore. And the protoplasm slams into her, kind of knocking her out of the line of all these zombies. And we do see it enter her body. And as it takes back hold of her, we see a demon fly out of her body. So presumably that is what happens here. And that's how everyone becomes a zombie, is the protoplasm is souls are forced out. And one of these creepy monsters takes their place and takes over them. But as the demon flies out and Velma regains her own consciousness, they're outside and we see the sunshine come down upon the demon and essentially burn it alive, and it explodes into sparkly sunshine rays, and it is dead.
Like a vampire.
Exactly. Yeah,
like
it's literally
like the Cullens.
It is a skinless cat gargoyle vampire. Is what these monsters are.
James Gunn was so ahead of the times. How did he
James
know?
Gunn combined everything we love. Cats.
He's like, I'm going to throw in every culture,
vampires,
every monster, you name it.
We'll love it and relate to it.
Yes.
So we learn it can be killed. We can kill it. If it bleeds, we can kill it.
We can kill it.
If it gets to the sun, we can kill it.
We can
explode it. So then Shaggy finds Fred's head and does the same thing, but like Fred's protoplasm is just as dumb as he is, and like he cannot control himself or figure out how to get back to his body. And he finds Daphne's and does the same thing. He lets it go. And instead of freeing everyone else in the protoplasm and like solving this problem, he sees the pyramid, the Ritus thing behind this basin, and yoinks it and goes to find his friends who are hopefully back to normal. Again, being like, I'll come back for you, maybe. Thousands of other party goers here.
Yeah.
You're not my friend, so you're not my problem.
Hilariously, there is a point too when Shaggy's like digging through this basin of protoplasms, like picking out heads, and he gets pretty lucky. Like I think he picks Velma's out first, and then he lets hers go, and then he like starts picking around for his other friends, and he picks out some other random guy who's like, "Oh my god, thank you so much! Please, you have to help us! You have to help us! You have to save us!" And Shaggy's like, "Sorry, dude, I'm looking for my friends," and he puts the back in.
He's like, "Sorry, man, I don't know you."
Yeah. Hilarious. This dude is terrified. Clearly, like, please, you have to help us. Please, man, we're
all of us.
Here. Help all of us. Sorry, dude, looking for Daphne.
Yeah, Shaggy's just like, I don't know you. I don't know what you can do.
That sounds like a you problem.
Yeah. Let me just drop you back into your living hell that you're now in.
Enjoy.
Sorry. So Shaggy takes the pyramid thing and books it out of there to find his friends, again, leaving thousands of souls behind without a second glance behind him. Still doesn't know where Scooby is. That's presumably motivating him here. And Velma, who is now back to herself, finds, still in the zombie mode, Daphne, and pushes her into kind of like a private room in one of the buildings, just as a protoplasm flies in to re-enter Daphne. And so Velma sees this and reopens the windows. The curtains were closed in this room so that the sunlight bursts in and burns the demon alive as it escapes or gets forced out of Daphne.
Yeah.
But we see in one of the most iconic scenes of this film, the protoplasm that entered Daphne was not Daphne's. It was the dumbasses of Fred's who couldn't find his own body. So yes, in what is one of the most classic cartoon moves of all time, Daphne is now actually Fred. It's Daphne's body, but Fred's soul in her. In a wildly inappropriate for children moment, Fred is basically
the jokes that you think are going to happen.
Yeah, all of the inappropriate. A man is suddenly inside of a woman's body who he's been crushing on.
Yeah,
every violation comes out of Fred's mouth, more or less in more appropriate terms, I guess, for kids to not understand. But Velma is like, "You're disgusting. We got to go find everyone else. Let's move it." They run into the jungle and find the rest of the gang, including Fred, who indeed has been occupied by Daphne's protoplasm. He is like going through the jungle being like, "This is disgusting," and like swatting around with Daphne's purse. But Shaggy,
where did he get her purse, by the way?
I think he was in the hotel. He just went and got her room.
He got it
because
it was on
Daphne
the bar.
Knew
still.
where it was because it's Daphne.
Oh, true. That's right.
So
that's right. I guess I just assumed that he
Daphne's
like
body.
had it in hand when the protoplasm got it.
Daphne was like, I need to go get it first.
I need my bag. Let me go get my purse.
Yeah. Yes. And so Shaggy also runs into all of them and has the pyramid thing, which seems to activate all of their protoplasms, which are currently all mixed up except for Shaggy and Velma's. But it like activates all of their protoplasms, and we see like 2 minutes of what is actually incredible acting of all of their protoplasms, like switching spots still of like Velma is suddenly speaking like Shaggy, Shaggy suddenly speaking like Daphne, Fred speaking
like the
like
mannerisms
Velma.
and everything.
Exactly. They do an excellent job here. I have to fully give all of these actors credit. It's so funny and well done.
I wanted to say it when when Fred first got in Daphne's body, like you can see the way that Sarah Michelle Gellar like uses her mouth differently when she's talking to look like the way Freddie Prinze Jr. like just moves his mouth when he's talking. Yeah. I'm like, oh man, that's so good. And then the rest of them do it too. It's perfect. Yes,
it's so good. I'm like, this was like the best acting moment in the film for me. I was like, they've all fucking nailed it. Like mannerisms, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So eventually the protoplasms find their original bodies, and that's what kind of stops this like fritz that the pyramid had caused. And when that finally happens, they see and hear a giant explosion from the beach. And of course, in classic Scooby-Doo gang fashion, run directly towards the danger.
Danger's their middle name. All 5 of them. Scooby Danger Do.
Honestly, that's a cute name.
It's really cute.
I love it.
I want a dog now so I can name them that in particular.
Scooby Danger Do.
So yes, they run towards the danger, the explosion on the beach. And they learn once they get to the site of the explosion that it was our favorite person, the Voodoo Man, who, yes, has no other name other than Voodoo Man / Voodoo Guy. And he, of course, happens to be doing exactly what a voodoo guy would do, a ritual. And he's doing it to protect himself from the demons that are expected to arise during the upcoming Dark Apocalypse ritual, aka this cult summoning ritual that we've been hearing Nagu and fucking Zarkos the Luchador.
Who actually I don't think talks about it at all. He maybe has like 2 lines.
And they're mostly grunts, I think. Yeah. Like, I don't remember him saying any words, but maybe
James Gunn was like, well, he's a luchador, so he speaks Spanish, but I, James Gunn, don't know Spanish, so I can't write him any lines.
I must write this all by myself. I must close myself off to the outside world. Only things that I know right here can go into the script. Yes. That seems like something James Gunn would do. And so with this, Velma then realizes what the pyramid is describing. She realizes that the cultists, essentially led again by Nagu and Luchador Zarkos, the cultists, they use the protoplasm as an energy source. And the cult leader will then use the energy source to take one pure soul amongst all of the souls. And that one pure soul will complete the ritual. And so once the ritual's done, you're probably like, okay, well, what do they need these souls for? What's the point of all this? Well, the point is so that the demons can then inhabit and rule over the world for thousands of years, essentially, and for the way humans work, forever. So at this point, the group is like looking around thinking, well, a pure soul, like who could that be or what? No. The purest among all of us, it is none other than Scooby-Doo. And they realize that he is the reason they were all invited onto this island. Not just because they're Mystery Inc. and can solve a mystery, but because he has the purest soul that can then complete this ritual and release the demons onto the world for the rest of human existence. So at that point, the team, they're like, all right, we got to make a plan. We got to save Scooby. We got to stop the ritual. We're back in action. We're together. Let's do this. And
so you may be thinking, where's Scooby been this whole time?
Yeah, by the way, he fell down that trap door. Now what?
What's he been up to? And we see Scooby in the castle on like the top of the hill where that ritual room is, where Daphne had discovered the pyramid. And he is basically caged in like that pyramid that lifted up from the ground and tried to capture Daphne originally. And it's very sad. His like tail is tucked. He's like whining, and my
He
little
looks
heart
very
is
scared.
breaking.
Yeah.
But we see Nagu come in and let Scooby out of this cage and lead him to Emil's office, where indeed Emil is sitting there and is very excited to see Scooby. He's checking in to make sure he's okay. He sits him down on the comfy couch, offering him some snacks, obviously Scooby snacks that Scooby gobbles up. Scooby's comforted by this. Again, he's in a comfy room. He's with a dude he knows. He's getting snacks. He's feeling trusting
can
again.
Ask for more. Yeah.
Exactly. And Scooby does have a moment of pause because he notices in this office that there's a photo of him in Emil's office. And so he asks Emil, like, this is a little creepy.
Yeah.
How'd you get this photo of me?
Fan, but...
but why is it framed? That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's weird.
And so Emil explains that it's because, unlike his so-called friends of Mystery Inc., who have clearly abandoned him even a few years ago and again right now, that Emil truly loves Scooby and is a true friend. And as his true friend, he would be honored if Scooby would do him a favor of a best friend, in fact. If he, Scooby-Doo, would be Emil's sacrifice. And Scooby says, we're okay.
Because that's what best friends do, right, Grace?
I gotta go.
Who's gonna do it first?
I think my naked cat, my Sphinx cat is calling me. I gotta run. I gotta go put a jacket on it. It's cold.
Okay.
I gotta go bye.
Come back soon now, you hear? Don't go too far.
I'll know.
I might need you for something soon.
To call a best friend call in.
Yeah.
So yes,
phone a friend.
Just says okay and agrees to be a sacrifice because he doesn't know what that is, apparently.
No, he does not. So he heard racrivice, which is
anything.
Could be anything.
Could be a snack.
Could be a wrapper of rice.
Yeah, it's definitely food related, he thinks, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's like, oh, hell yeah. Yeah, I'll give you the food. What is it? Something rice? Cool. Yeah, I'm here for it. Okay. Yeah. Yes. And so in the meantime, as Scooby is being run through his sacrifice that he is soon to become, Daphne, Velma, Shaggy, and Fred, they start laying their booby trap. They're the classic, Rube Goldberg type of way that they're going to solve this mystery and save Scooby. So they go down to the cave where Shaggy found that basin full of souls, the protoplasms. They're still not going to save everybody from it. They're going to just set the trap up around it while everyone else...
Or they're not going to just dump it right now.
Exactly.
They're going to elaborately think about it later.
Because Fred needs an audience. So he's like, oh, no. Au contraire, mon frère. We are going to do this in front of the cult. I want them all to see it. We're not going to do this now.
To see save them.
The day. How could I put it in my book if I don't have witnesses to vouch for it? Okay. So their plan is essentially to release all of the protoplasms from this basin in the cave and simultaneously explode all of the demons once they pop back out of people's bodies when the protoplasms re-enter. So they're going to open up the cave in a way that allows a bunch of sunlight in right after they topple over this basin and the protoplasms just fly out. How crazy would it be if the protoplasms all just splattered on the ground?
Right, you have to
it's just a mess.
them, not just dump them.
Yeah, because that is what Shaggy did. He threw them. He didn't just hold, because he was holding them and they were standing still. They weren't the one Velma's could have flown out of his hand at any point, or Daphne's at any point, but he had to toss them for them to so they tip the basin over and there's just a disgusting wet pile of goopy protoplasms.
They're like, ew.
Ew, that's gross.
One
Yuck.
of Shaggy's like, see, I told you they weren't worth saving. Like, gross. That's why I put them
Exactly.
back.
I know. I did not want to touch those. That was nasty. So, anyways, at this point, after the team finishes setting up all the things that they need in place for their plan, the zombie people and the cultists start to enter the cave to begin their ritual. And obviously, they're led by Ngu. Nugu, is it Nugu or Ngu? I don't remember what he says. By Goo. See, goo, much like the protoplasm.
Protoplasms.
And
that's why he demanded they all be kept in a basin. He'll be like, it'll be gooey. And everyone was like, that's gross. And he was like, oh.
I can't help what my mom named me. But also, he doesn't look like an Ingu either. So I think that he changed his name.
He's a ripped man.
Yeah. And very not, well, I don't know what ethnicity Ingu would like necessarily be, but I don't think it would be like white European. So
no, he's purposely ambiguous, just like, again,
it's perfect.
What culture we are taking from for every other part of this film.
All of them.
Yep.
So, yes. So Nagu and Emil are leading this group of zombie people and cultists into the cave.
Can I briefly say, we must comment. Emil has changed his clothes.
Mm-hmm.
He has gone from his like island business casual he was wearing the whole time, which was like
like
button up with like a
rich boy, you know?
Yes, like a big collar, linen, and like a little blazer on top to be like, this came from like a even richer Tommy Bahama, but I'm also here for business.
Yes.
And now he is here to be a fucking wizard. Like he has like a crushed blue velvet like cape, very tightly tailored with a huge collar.
Thank you. Okay, I was like, doesn't it have like a massive like Dracula collar?
Yes.
Yeah. Like beyond, it's bigger than Dracula.
Yes, exactly.
Dracula
it's like
jealous of his collar.
Like above his ears level collar, all crushed blue velvet. And I assume it's crushed blue velvet. I just needed for us to know that he has changed his outfit to be like, and now I'm a wizard.
And now the ritual can begin.
Yes.
Off with this stuffy blazer.
Ugh.
I like to think too that he did a massive twirl with the cloak as he put it on and like really shook the collar out and it just like flopped right into place.
Yeah, they actually like weren't totally sure how long they needed to keep Mr. Ink on the island and like when they should actually take Scooby-Doo because this outfit was with the tailor. And then yesterday they got it back and he was like, okay, we're ready.
Okay,
take Scooby. Where I go.
Time. Yeah, because I was kind of wondering that the whole time too. Like, why did they wait so long? Whatever. To take Scooby.
It had to be flown in.
Thank you for answering that.
Yeah. Shipped in from Milan.
And then they had to Milan. And then they had to press it. Yeah. You see Emil just staring as like his maids are like pressing it. It takes like 3 people though because this is such a long cloak. It's like hanging up very elaborately so none of it's touching the floor and it's all like flattened. Yes, exactly. It's perfect. They're like pinning the collar so that it naturally stays up.
Standing up.
Yeah. This is a whole process. It takes a team.
It must be perfect.
It takes a village. He's got a whole design team working with them.
What billionaires do.
Exactly.
It takes a village to raise them.
Oh God. And yes. So he does become quite the style icon, I will say. Thank you for adding that because I honestly didn't even think about it.
It's very important to me.
How ridiculous of a costume change that was.
Yeah. It was important that we talked about it.
And he now has this very serious look in his face too. Like before, he's like this very like eccentric, goofy amusement park billionaire owner. He's no longer Mr. Bean. Now he is Dr. Death. I don't know. He is stoic, stone cold, ready to sacrifice Scooby and get this ritual going.
Yeah.
And so the gang, as they see all of these people coming into the cave, they run, they hide, and they, try to get into position so that they can start this plan as soon as the ritual gets going. But Shaggy, before he can get away, he gets caught. And I think he like runs into one of these kind of like security guards who's just kind of like standing towards the back, keeping an eye on everything. And he immediately just like the plan falls apart. It's bad as per usual with them.
Yeah.
And he finds himself face to face with the security guard who then like beats him up and like, or no, sorry, Shaggy beats him up. And then he's able to like steal his costume and also hide among all of the other cultists. And Daphne, before everything fell to shit, she was able to climb away and is finding her way out of the cave up to like the roof, or I guess the ground level maybe, so that she can then let sunlight in at a certain point after they're able to knock over the protoplasms. Fred and Vilma, meanwhile, they did not have time to hide after Shaggy fucked everything up, so they just pretend to like stand in with the rest of the zombies, acting like they too are brainwashed teenagers, like enjoy like joining in the dancing and the chanting and everything as the ritual begins. And so the ritual begins by Scooby being carried out on this like throne, like chaise, whatever lounge that all of these cultist guards are carrying out. One of which happens to be Shaggy, who again stole the costume from that other guy and just like had to jump in and blend in somewhere. And it happened to be here. And as he's carrying Scooby out to the middle of the ceremony, the two of them are talking. He's like, Scooby, it's me. Like, we're going to save you. And Scooby's like, please, like, I've got new friends. Look at all these people like here trying to party for me. Like, I'm going to be a sacrifice. You know how awesome that is? And Shaggy's like,
you would never sacrifice me.
I don't. You keep using that word, and I don't think you know what that word means, Scooby. And Scooby's like, no, yeah, it's a sacrifice. It's dope. And Shaggy like explains to him, like, no, you don't want to be a sacrifice. This is bad. And then Scooby kind of like starts to freak out. But before they can get away, Emil then introduces Scooby as the sacrifice to the entire crowd, all of the zombies, all of these cultists, saying that he will be the perfect soul, the pure soul that is needed to bring about the end of the world and carry out their ritual plot. And so then Scooby is officially brought out to the middle, and Shaggy, he's like still trying to freak out, thinking of a last minute effort to get Scooby to safety and get him out of here. Fred, meanwhile, and Vilma, like I said, they were trying to like blend in the crowd and dance and stuff, but they didn't go to practice. I guess they didn't get the handbook on when to stop and start the dances because they are exposed as not being zombies when like the music stops and they're still there dancing and stuff, and everyone's
like
looking
doing
at
like
them
the
like
Macarena.
Yeah, I know, like not even what they're supposed to be doing. Fred tries to play it off by talking like he's cool and stuff again, but it's just not hitting the same way it was before. Everyone knows that they're phonies, and then they pretty much like get attacked and like are told to like be handed over. So then they get the pyramid. Emil or I think, is it Zarka? One of the luchador or Ngu, one of them comes and I think takes the pyramid back from Velma, the Damon Ritus, and they are able to now use it to carry out their ritual. So to me, this also kind of seems like this was all a plan. Like they knew that they had the Damon Ritus still, and they're like, yeah, let's just get them down here somewhere. They're going to come.
Yeah. Like we're not going to chase them.
Yeah, because why would they get started? Why would they get started on the ritual knowing that they need this thing if they don't know that they're about to get this thing back? So I feel like they just fell into a very big trap. But anyways,
absolutely.
Meanwhile, Nagu, he is controlling this big crane-like structure that I think is supposed to be used to pick up that big basin full of the protoplasms. But before he can use it for that, he I think uses it to put Scooby into the basin of protoplasm.
Yeah, it like sucks souls or something.
That's what it is. That's
the machine was confusing.
It was confusing. It seemed like it was a little over the top and unnecessary. Like they blew the budget on that machine. I don't think you guys really need this.
That machine and Sugar Ray and Pamela Anderson.
Pamela Anderson. To be fair, Pamela Anderson, yes, the movie blew the budget on that, but Spooky Island, they're blowing the budget on a lot of random shit. Like specifically, Sugar Ray is not cheap. So, yeah. So anyway, this crane thing that, yes, is supposed to be used to suck out the life source, the protoplasm from living beings. It swings over to Scooby and it immediately sucks the protoplasm out of him, making him pass out the same way that the monster is like breathing the green, whatever smoke in people's face made them pass out, just like sucking the life out of you, essentially.
Yeah. And the chaos begins.
Or continues.
Yeah, continue.
It intensifies.
Yeah, intensifies. Chaos intensifies. So at the top of the cave, we're gonna jump around a little bit. Daphne, yes, has climbed out, and up there is like this giant vent. That's what she's gonna open to let all of the sunlight in the cave at the right time. But it's showdown time because who's up there? The luchador. And they get into probably the best fight scene in this film.
Yeah, definitely.
I would easily, maybe like the only actual fight scene. Everything else is just like kind of chaos
Chasing,
scene.
yeah, and chaos.
Yeah, where the luchador is fully doing like wrestling moves, like, like getting up on like a gate to like, as if it's like the wrestling ring to like body slammer and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And we see that for all of Daphne's talk about being whatever she said, my body is a temple. I'm a strong, independent woman.
Yeah.
I am a weapon. This bitch is now in her platform purple boots.
Oh, yeah.
And they are full on fight scene, kicking each other, punching, doing spins and flips and shit. So back below, while that fight is happening ongoingly, Emil, who now has the Damon-Ritis pyramid thing like attached to his chest and it's open, it starts to absorb the protoplasm pool, like that basin, all of like we see all the spirits and protoplasm like flying into basically like this chest cavity that this pyramid has created. And it's basically like energizing him to then take Scooby's pure soul. But Shaggy, in again, all of the chaos that kind of erupted around them with Fred and Velma being captured, et cetera, Shaggy is able to run up and get a hold of that crane and basically just like start taking control of it. He's swinging it around with Scooby's little protoplasm still attached to it. And he's able to like swing it right back into Scooby. So Scooby like regains his soul, essentially becomes conscious again. And in that process, it also slams into, like the actual crane itself, slams into Emil, which sends him flying into like one of the cave walls. So obviously seeing that their cult leader has now just gotten like yeeted across the cave by a crane, the guards get into chaos mode as well. What do we do? And Fred and Velma are able to run from the guards and run to Emil, who again has that pyramid, the Damon-Ritis from his chest, and seems to be knocked out. And as Fred and Velma get closer to him, unmovingly on the ground, they notice that like right kind of like, I don't know, maybe a little below his chin, kind of at the top of his neck still, there's a small slit that they've seen many times before in their career. A slit that reveals most likely someone is wearing a mask.
Yes.
So, of course.
They're no strangers to this.
Yes. They know what that tiny little, everyone overlooks the seams when they're putting on those masks, and keen-eyed Velma and Fred know how to look for it. So
they focus in on the seams.
Exactly. They're always checking out people's necks like vampires.
Excuse me, sir. Just like lift their head up. Like, yeah, all right, you check out, buddy.
Move that hair. All right, keep it moving. And so, yes, they rip off the mask that was on Emil to reveal a robot face, which they're like, what the fuck is happening? Yes. Yeah. One of many plot twists. And the second one right around the corner, because yes, they see that it's a robot face and they're like, wait, is this a robot? Is this being controlled? Like, is someone else controlling this? Like, what is this? And they notice as they're contemplating that the pyramid on the chest is glowing more and more until suddenly this, now we know, robot chest rips open to reveal the operator, who is perhaps, picture your 9 or 10-year-old Grace and Alexis. You love Scooby-Doo. You don't really know what a plot twist is yet. You haven't watched M. Night Shyamalan movies. You don't know what that means. Suddenly to reveal in 10-year-old Grace's mind, the most unexpected, the greatest plot twist that I had seen in those first 10 years of my being. The operator of the robot, the mastermind of this entire cult ritual and plot to take Scooby's soul and take down Mr. Inc. The one, the only, the most annoying, Scrappy-Doo. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, he found his way out of the Yucca Mountains. And onto Spooky Island. Somehow. Somehow.
Yep.
Oh, goodness gracious. And so he found his way out. He figured out this plan, and somehow, still having absorbed all of this protoplasm that is insane that came through this Damonitis, he is slowly growing bigger and bigger and stronger as like each second passes, and he's like explaining to the gang how he executed all of this, and with every word, like his arm grows, like his leg grows, his foot grows. It's actually very creepy and off-putting.
I hate it.
I really hate it.
Even as an adult.
It reminded me how much I didn't like that as a kid too. I was like, ew, I don't like this. And like all of the scenes where Scrappy is like this giant demon monster that he thus turns into, because he's just absorbed the protoplasm of, I don't know, thousands of like 20-something-year-olds and the purest of them all, Scooby-Doo. So he explains, though, that his plan is to rule the world, and that he brought the whole gang there so that they could see him win, essentially, and beat them at their own game. And of course, so that he could get Scooby's protoplasm, because indeed it is a pure soul. That was just the cherry on top to carry out this plan. So at this point, Scrappy is enormous. Like he's, I don't know, maybe 15 feet tall. Like he's taller than all of those demon things. Yeah, like he's like kind of hunched over in the cave too at some points. Like he's jumping around like the Hulk, like smashing shit.
Yeah, he does like the Hulk.
He really does. He's like the Hulk and a reptile combined with Scrappy-Doo.
Oh yeah,
it's weird. Weird, like brows. I don't know.
Scaly
it's weird.
Brow
it's creepy.
Things.
Again, I hate it. I don't like it. But he like smacks Fred and Velma out of the way and then runs straight after Scooby, and a massive chase throughout this cave ensues. And Fred and Velma, meanwhile, they're like fighting off guards to try to keep them away from grabbing Scooby and Shaggy. And Shaggy, he's trying to like take control of this crane and just knock shit over, I guess. Because, and again, why I was confused on what the crane did earlier, because like, wait, what do they use it for again? Because why would you need? Never mind. You know, that's too much of a rabbit.
Go for it, because I was also like, what is this machine? Why is it just a crane that does everything?
Yeah, I know, exactly. Like, why are you using it to knock shit over? I don't know. I guess, I don't know. I just don't get the crane. I feel like they just could have sucked your life force out in some other way. I don't know. We're overthinking it.
Yeah, we are, because it made like so little sense that we got upset about it.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So anyways, Scooby eventually, amidst all this chasing and all of this chaos and the crane, he gets taken by Scrappy. And in that moment, though, we go up to the rooftop, or up to the ground level, and we see Daphne up there still in this intense fight with the luchador. But she is like totally whooping his ass. Like she is winning this fight. And she sends him, like she throws him down the vent after she's able to subdue him. And he like flies down into the cave through this vent and falls right into that basin holding all of the protoplasm, which then just like tips over and like sends all of the protoplasms just like flying and going crazy through the cave. Yeah.
To your point a second ago, maybe it's because he physically splashed into it, which gave all the protoplasm momentum,
projected them out
to like project out, versus I still think you're correct that if someone just tipped it, they would all just like just like slime out. But the force of a whole ass luchador slamming into them,
it's something flying up into the air. Yes, or into the air.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, all of the protoplasms are like crazily flying through this cave, re-entering the bodies that they go with, and all of the demons are then coming out of these bodies. And at first I'm like, oh shit, like, you guys, like, hurry up, get the sunlight.
We're surrounded by demons.
This is gonna be bad. But yes, at that exact moment, Fred and Velma, they release a like this massive skull-shaped disco ball that they had like wired up at the top of the cave. They like release it drops down, and all of the sunlight coming in from the vent refracts off of it, and it just shoots everywhere, and all of the monsters and demons just are like exploding, blown up. And yeah, it's great. It's actually kind of violent though, but also very funny. I was like, oh, that would be a mess if they really were blowing up down there.
Right. I was like, thank God they just like turn into sparkles versus body parts.
I know. Exactly. That was probably a calculated move. At one point, they probably were going to have them just explode. And they're like, wait. It's one thing if it's one demon at a time, but we can't have this whole cave of demons.
Like... Which, put a slight pin in that, because I have a fun fact for the end when we're finished.
Oh, wonderful. Perfect. So yes, right as this is happening and these demons are exploding left and right, Shaggy then uses the crane to rip the pyramid from Scrappy's chest. And then Scrappy immediately starts like shrinking, and he's yelling at them, and he's falling back to his normal size. He's still obviously trying to fight like the annoying little puppy that he is, but he is fully back to normal Scrappy-Doo size. And Scooby is able to just kind of like smack him and like push him out of the way. And they're like, okay, got that handled. Mystery solved. Villain subdued.
Yeah, with a swift flick of a paw, subdued.
Yes.
And in that moment, down through the vent, Daphne rappels all the way down, essentially into Fred's arms. They share a big old smooch. We kind of have a scene throughout the movie that like they clearly missed each other a lot after the gang broke up and had been flirting again, so that they share a big old smooch. Velma and her Led Zeppelin t-shirt friend that he's recovered share a big hug. They're stoked that everything's back to normal. Shaggy is looking for Scooby, but while he's looking for him, he notices in this cave floor another trapdoor, which he opens up, and out crawls a stinky, hair overgrown, dirty,
emaciated, hungry,
like just came out as a POW vibe. Emil, the real Emil, who explains in a very like, this man has PTSD for sure and has been in like isolation. Are they
still dropping the bombs?
Yeah, exactly. This man is deeply unwell, but explains to Shaggy that Scrappy, who I'm pretty sure he calls just like an insane little sociopath or something, came, kidnapped him, shoved him down in this hole, and basically took his identity and likeness. And that is how, yes, Spooky Island was a real place. Emil was a real person, and Scrappy-Doo just saw this opportunity for some identity theft in the wildest way and took it. And so Emil is freed, which is great. Also concerning of like, Shaggy's just like, great, good luck. Like, this man is severely traumatized. He needs help. Good,
right?
So you got this, right? I gotta go find my best friend. Emil. Bros before hoes. I gotta go.
Emil is the hoe.
And so, yes, in a truly like pulled at every one of my heartstrings moment, in the crowd of all of, the party goers, happy that they're themselves again, they're all reuniting and celebrating. Through the crowd, Shaggy and Scooby see each other, and Scooby goes, Raggy, and then runs up and leaps onto his chest and starts covering him and smooches and licking his face, and they're hugging and reuniting, and it's so beautiful. And I welled up seeing this, thinking of me and my dogs and how they greet me every time I come home. And it was beautiful. And so, yes, everyone is reunited. Even Mary Jane comes back to being herself and reunites with Shaggy and Scooby, who, even though she's very allergic to dogs, she loves, is sorry that she was ever a demon. Yes, gives him a big old hug. And so we see, ending all this out, that of course this has caused a bit of a ruckus. And finally, the Coast Guard has arrived. The police have arrived. Yeah, too little, too late, my friends, but whatever.
Thanks, guys.
These plucky teens took care of it. Young adults took care of it. And we see the Coast Guard arresting all of the cultists who are clearly accessories to this whole plan. We see being shoved into a helicopter, like an army helicopter, the luchador, Nagoo, and on his lap, in a dog crate, Scrappy-Doo, who's like shaking the bars. Yeah, he's like shaking the bars of the crate, cursing all of them, swearing vengeance on all of them. And I just think it's very funny that they had a dog crate that they put him in. Like, whoever
and
called,
then Nagoo's like holding him on his lap too.
Yeah. And like whoever clearly called, like the police and the Coast Guard, they were like, "Did you also bring animal control?" Yeah. Someone just brought a little crate.
We'll explain when you get here. Yeah.
It's complicated. You just got to see it to believe us. And so also flocking to this island right now, after this crazy ass incident happened, are a shitload of reporters and TV screws who all rush to Mystery Inc. Of course, they know who they are because they used to, they were famous in their own regard.
Oh my God, they're back. We got to get the scoop.
Back. Yes, we got to get the hot tale. They reunited for this. Yes. And of course, like usual, they all rush towards Fred, sticking microphones in his face, begging him to answer their questions. And for a second, he does start to answer their questions. He loves the limelight. He perks up, but he glances over at the clearly very sad and downtrodden Velma, just like we saw at the beginning, who's disappointed that yet again, even though she's done all of the brain power and hard work, someone else is getting credit. And in a lovely moment of redemption, Fred stops and says, basically, to all the reporters, "Why don't you ask Velma? She's the one who did it all." And so, yes, Velma gets to enter the spotlight, get the recognition she deserves. And we close with all of Mystery Inc. announcing via all their hands and the paws of Scooby-Doo coming in the center that Mystery Inc. is back, baby. And they all fling their hands up in a freeze frame.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the movie.
And that's the end, again, of the cinematic masterpiece that is Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo. So I would like to tell you a fun fact, and then I would like to hear like your reaction of rewatching this film as an adult, and also like the world essentially hates this movie. It has like a less than a 5, I think, on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, it's like 56% or something, which in some ways I agree with. Go ahead. We'll get into it. We got some time.
The fun fact, which I think gives way into why all of the cast, basically again, except for Matthew Lillard, like refuses to talk about this movie, like actively shits on this movie, like hates that they were in it, is because apparently, according to the Wikipedia trivia on this film, the way it was originally written, I don't know if this was James Gunn's original writing, because there's like 2 other writers on it. I think it was though. Originally, this movie was supposed to be rated R.
Yes.
Which like would have been so much better and incredible. But it's like like the monsters exploding, like most likely it would have been body parts fucking everywhere. At one point, like Velma and Daphne were supposed to start making out in essentially almost a sex scene. Like, Fred getting Daphne's body was supposed to go way further than that. And like, also I'm sure all of like the Shaggy and Scooby being a stoner situation would have just been front and center of it all. And yes, of course.
Just more colorful language in general.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So yes, them bringing this script forward to, the owners of Scooby-Doo, Hanna-Barbera and Warner Brothers. It
being like, hey.
Very quickly got turned, but apparently I think was all of the actors and cast had signed on, and then it got rewritten, and thus everyone was like, this is not what I signed up for.
Right.
Like,
I don't want to do a family movie.
Exactly. And thus I just like to like what it could have been.
Exactly.
Especially with this beautiful cast, like this perfect.
And when you look at
great.
And you named a lot of it in the first in part one of this, but when you look at all of the movies that cast was famous for, and like the things they were known for, it's like, well, horror and just like adult comedy like type stuff, or like teenage comedy, but like the
like
more vulgar
shit.
side of it, like Freaks and Geeks, and obviously, I Know What You Did Last Summer, horror, Scream, all that shit. So like I think people who were teenagers at that time saw them in that movie accompanied with the freaking ghost from the beginning
and the
actually
ads, terrifying.
And they were like, hell yeah, this is going to be like an adult funny
Scooby-Doo a horror movie.
And then they're like, wait, it's rated PG. What? I think it's PG. It can't be G. There's no way. It's got to be PG. It's definitely not PG.
Yeah, it's definitely not PG-13. Yeah, so I just am like, wow, RIP to what could have been. For this film. And I will say, I remember seeing this movie and being like, I fucking love it.
Same,
and rewatching it. Yeah. And rewatching it now, I'm like, oh yeah, I understand why this is like universally horribly rated, but it has such a special place in my heart that like, I still loved it. Even for every single moment where it's cringe or flawed, I'm like, perfect. Lovely.
It's still perfect though.
But again, wish it was rated R.
Yeah. And I think actually, I could be wrong. I might look this up actually while I'm saying it, but actually, no, I have it pulled up right here. So I'm pretty sure that as far as the rating went, it's got 56% critic, I think, or like 50% critic, but the audience score is really high. So like,
oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. I could be wrong, or like they rated it pretty high. The audience rated it like, what is it? The audience polled by this is on Wikipedia. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B+ on an A+ to F scale. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 32% approval rating, but that's based on critics, I think, with an average rating of 4.6. Yeah. So I don't know. I think if you're watching it, because I rented it on Amazon and they have, I think, like the IMDb rating on there. And I think that was like 50% critic, but like high 60s, low 70s audience. Because people are like, like, of course we love this movie. Like it's not it's not cinema, okay?
Yes, that's
as much as we joke about it. Yeah. It's not.
Yeah. This was a movie made for kids.
Yeah.
And we were kids who saw it.
Yes, and like, and you laid that out perfectly, because for all the cringy stuff in it, all the stuff that's like, oof, yeah, like, or like, ooh, that line didn't land well, or like, oh, that line read wasn't the best, etc. Like, oh, that was stupid that they put that in the story, whatever. For all of that, for what it is, it's actually an excellent movie, because what is it? It's a live action adaptation of Scooby-Doo. It has every single thing that a Scooby-Doo movie should have. You have old man so-and-so, who's a grumpy old person who does a crime. You have freaking Scrappy-Doo, first of all, which is crazy. Yep. You have an unsuspecting suspect who really is only a suspect because he's into like some creepy mystical shit. They always have that in Scooby-Doo, like just to kind of throw you off the trail.
The red herring.
To blame. Exactly. The red herring. Exactly. I mean, yeah. So like if you go through the list, it's got the person looking through the eye holes, following them through the building. It's got the chase scenes. It's got all this stuff that like
they have a plan and it all gets fucked up and they got to go for plan B.
Exactly. It's got everything. Daphne gets kidnapped in it multiple times. Like everything that a Scooby-Doo piece of work should have is in this movie. So it hit all the notes. It's classic. And of course, Shaggy is written perfectly. I think my biggest critique is I never actually really liked Freddie Prinze Jr. as Fred. And I never liked the way that they wrote Fred in this movie, because I always thought that Fred was actually like a nice guy watching it growing up and everything. But I see that they had to like give him some personality, because otherwise he would be so vanilla. Like there would be nothing to say about him. Yeah. So it's like, okay, we'll just make Fred like a narcissist and like an asshole. But like he was never like that in the original show. I don't think. If anything, Velma was always kind of the meanest. Yeah, he was just kind of like the leader in the show. But I think they needed more of a reason to like fall apart, essentially. And like they couldn't really figure out any other like pain points, more or less, of like, okay, why
would they break up to begin with?
Yeah.
It's got to be the tension between like the leader and the one who does all the work. Because like Daphne didn't really have any tension with them. She was just like, stop making fun of me because I get captured all the time.
Right.
Scooby and Shaggy obviously didn't. So they were like, we need some pain point. And so, yeah, they like worked it up a little bit more and like made him a little douchier. But I will say he does have a nice arc of like getting back to the Fred I think we actually know from the show by the end.
Exactly.
And you kind of see it like slowly but surely throughout, like him kind of come around to that. So
yeah,
they made up for it. But yeah, I agree. Like they kind of had to do that at the start.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, it would have just been like, we're breaking up. Okay, why?
Why? Because Fred is like too agreeable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like there really wouldn't have been a reason.
Fred, you never want to take credit when you come up with a good idea. You always want to share the spotlight with Velma. That's too kind of you. Get out of here. Take a stand for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's a good point. But I will say too, we didn't touch on this at the beginning, but they also do a really great and funny job of also like, this is 2002, but they keep all of the outfits basically from like the original, which I also just appreciate that like, yeah, Velma is still in the sweater and the skirt. Like when she gets turned into like a zombie, she suddenly has like an orange V-neck, but as soon as she's herself again, she changes back into her sweater.
She's like, what is this? Yeah.
Yeah. Again, Fred, I will say like Fred changes a couple times, but it's always like the minus the one, like when he's brainwashed being a frat boy, he always has like the collar, even if it's like a short sleeve instead, has a pop of orange.
Shaggy, it's always one of his outfits. Like how Shaggy has always worn the same thing, but Fred has changed outfits in the cartoon too.
Yes.
And I feel like it's always the outfits in the live action always matched one of his cartoon outfits still.
Exactly.
Like
which
his
I appreciated.
The witch's curse or whatever, or the witch's ghost. Like that was, he did just like the white polo or whatever.
Yeah, with, like the very simple.
Ascot. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I appreciated that. And then yes, Daphne, of course, always in purple. She either has like her little dress on, except like way deeper of a V than like the high neck from the original show. At one point, she does have an incredible jumpsuit on, which is all purple and bell bottom for all her fight scenes.
Yes, with the go-go boots.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I appreciated that as well from it, of just being like,
the costumes were amazing.
Yeah, we're not going to try and be like, oh, let's remake them and just have, you know, a hint of purple for Daphne. It was like, no, they're still dressing like it's
dressed like the
1970s. Yeah. No changes.
And everyone else around them looks like they're in Smash Mouth.
Exactly. Which, speaking of Smash Mouth,
Fred's wearing bell bottoms.
Yeah, same with Shaggy. Yeah. But speaking of Smash Mouth, or just generally the music of this film, the soundtrack,
so good,
beautiful, incredible. It's every 2002 hit that you would hope and dream for.
Yes. Yeah.
They did a great job on that as well.
So not only did they get Sugar Ray to act in a few scenes or in a couple scenes for the movie, they also got them to throw a couple tracks on the album as well. Because of course they're singing a Sugar Ray song as they're performing. So that automatically goes on the soundtrack.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, what a time capsule of a time in our world
movie.
And lives.
It's it definitely, you know, maybe it's not the cinematic masterpiece that we jokingly say it is, but I at least like to think that it has a very, in our hearts, it absolutely is. And
yes,
I do think it has an important place in film history because, you know what, if nothing else, it at least jump-started the career of James Gunn. He'd already done a couple of, he'd written some other stuff before then, but after Scooby-Doo, I feel like he really, like that's when he started doing a lot of, he really took off. So, you know what, if nothing else, it gave us that.
Exactly. So,
but I would love to see, you know, I'm here for seeing another stab. I know they do, there have been like straight to TV Scooby-Doo reincarnations, whatever remakes. I'd be down to see another stab at a live action. Let them try it again and see, but it has to be darker and like
I would want it, but the original script, like still James Gunn, still this exact cast, just the original script, maybe like modernized to the 2020s, but like what it was supposed to be from the jump.
Yeah, because I mean, you think about it. If people are running to see a Scooby-Doo movie, it's probably safe to say, like, yes, some young people will want to, but I think it's going to be a mostly older audience. Because even though Scooby-Doo is still around today for kids to watch, like,
there's so many other shows.
Yeah. And I don't know. I feel like it's still not the most popular show for kids today. I would not be surprised if you did a poll of like the average age of people who still watch Scooby-Doo related stuff. The percentage would be people in our age group.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be like 27 to like 40.
Yeah, exactly.
Year olds.
Well, I wonder too when, and I guess I don't know how this works because they're still always making new like actual Scooby-Doo shows, like iterations of that. But like, when does Scooby-Doo enter like what is it, like Creative Commons?
Public domain.
Public domain of like when Winnie the Pooh finally entered it, and they're like,
Blood and Honey.
Yes, like there was a fucking horror movie ready to come out. Like,
oh man,
it'll happen, I think. But I guess I don't know if like can Warner Brothers continue to just be like, no, we still own Scooby-Doo because we're still always making new Scooby-Doos. I don't fucking know. Whatever. If that ever happens. That will emerge, I think.
Well, there is on YouTube. Some people did do, and I think you said this to me. Remember? Yeah, Mystery Incorporated, or they did something like that. They did a 1-episode special where they like crowdfunded an episode, and I mean, they somehow got the rights, I guess, because the way they did it is definitely not like fair use. I
don't know.
There's no way. So they somehow got the rights to do it, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I mean, considering it was totally independently made, it was actually really good. I should like back up and appreciate that. So I mean, it's better than the other stuff that they do, the live action stuff that they put on TV for Scooby-Doo now. I thought it was better than that.
Exactly.
But it was also like 40-year-olds playing these high schoolers.
I mean, same with this movie, I think. So it's fine. So
we've seen it done before.
Yeah, and they'll do it again.
Yeah. So people are doing it somehow. And I mean, you can always, write fan fiction and like hopefully shop it around and be like, hey guys, you would do this?
Wanna pick it up?
Do it. Yeah. So
exactly.
It's possible.
Wow.
It can be done with the right writing and the right budget to like make the monsters look less CGI. And so that we're not sitting here thinking of like 20 different creatures to describe them.
They need to be a little more streamlined.
Exactly. Yeah.
So wow.
Other than that, such a fantastic movie. This was fun. I think a great way to celebrate episode 100 and apparently 101 because we love 101 Dalmatians as well. Well, no, we planned that. Yeah. Hey, if you turn 100, then you should also celebrate your 101st birthday when you turn 101, just to like the same magnitude. You know what? Episode 102, we're gonna party for.
We're doing it up. Can't stop us now. We're triple digits.
Now we're celebrating more and more than the last one. But no, we are going to get back to Jabberjaw after this, which I'm excited for. As these past 2 weeks haven't been insane and chaotic enough, we're going to get back to something somehow even more chaotic.
True chaos.
Yes, we'll get back on our regularly scheduled programming. And I'm excited. It's been fun, but I miss the 15-foot great white shark that is Jabberjaw. So he did. So until then, Grace, who should they tell about this podcast?
I think you should tell someone who also actually has a scary movie podcast, Freddie Prinze Jr.
Oh, does he?
Yes, I can't remember what it's called, but it's something, I think it has spooky somewhere in the name, but I think I haven't listened to it because I watch horror movies, but some type of horror movie related podcast. So tell him on his new podcast to come listen to ours.
Yeah, I am going to have to check that out. Awesome.
Yes.
And then at the same time, you should just tell his wife, Sarah Michelle Gellar, so that just in case if he doesn't get the message, she does, and then she can relay it.
Exactly. Just like they're casual, making breakfast one morning, they can bring it up to each other.
Exactly. Apparently he's a really good cook. He sometimes pops up in my algorithm just like cooking food for his wife. And I'm like, God damn it, they have it all. I know.
God, we love love. We love their love.
We do.
Amazing. All right. Well, we'll see y'all next week.
Until then.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.